A faint whisper moves through the ancient stones of Jerusalem, as if the ground itself remembers what the world has forgotten, and beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa, beneath the sacred rock, something far older than empires lies hidden in the darkness, waiting to be understood. Before we descend into the depths of this mystery, tell me where in the world you are watching from, and if your heart is connected to the history of Islam, then stay with us and join this journey by supporting this channel so more people can reconnect with the forgotten stories of our deen. For over 14 centuries, Masjid Al-Aqsa has stood not only as a symbol of worship, but as a witness to the rise and fall of entire civilizations, a sacred landmark whose walls have felt the presence of prophets and whose foundations rest upon stories older than written history. Every stone in this blessed sanctuary carries the memory of divine events, and every layer beneath it tells a story about humanity's earliest connection to Allah. Beneath the surface, deep beneath the platform where worshippers stand today, lies a world shaped long before the modern age, a world hidden in rock and earth, waiting quietly while the world above it rushes on. This underground realm is not a legend created for intrigue, nor a fable crafted for storytellers. Its existence is tied to the very origins of Al-Quds, built by prophets, blessed by their footsteps, and preserved through the decree of Allah. And as we explore what lies beneath, we find not merely tunnels and chambers, but the echoes of revelation itself. The sacred rock, as Sakra al-Musharrafa, stands at the heart of this mystery, a witness to one of the greatest miracles in human history, the night journey and ascension, Al-Isra and Al-Miraj. The Quran tells us that Allah took his servant from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid Al-Aqsa, a journey that changed the destiny of the world, and from this blessed region the Prophet ascended to the heavens. Generations of scholars, relying on authentic narrations, understood that the area around this rock held a unique honor, a sacred connection between the heavens and the earth. This was not merely a site chosen randomly from the land of Palestine. It was a place sanctified across ages, a meeting point where prophets prayed, where revelation descended, and where the spiritual history of humanity converged. The blessing mentioned in the Quran, that Allah blessed the surroundings of Al-Aqsa, is not symbolic poetry but a literal truth that the prophets lived, walked, and worshipped here. Even long before the era of Prophet Muhammad, prophets such as Ibrahim, Ishaq, Yaqub, Dawood, and Sulaiman found their Qibla, refuge, and mission in this holy land, and the rock at its center became a symbol of continuity between their generations. Beneath this revered spot, early Muslims discovered a natural chamber, al-Maghara, indicating that the land itself contained layers shaped by both nature and prophetic history. This chamber, simple yet profound, reminds us that what lies beneath the rock is not a recent discovery or a crafted myth, but an authentic part of Jerusalem's ancient spiritual structure. When we look even deeper, we enter the era of Prophet Sulaiman, a time when Allah granted a prophet both kingship and extraordinary authority, including the command over the jinn. The Quran tells us clearly that the jinn labored under his command, building grand structures, massive fortresses, and intricate works of stone, metal, and earth. Their construction was not limited to the surface of the land. Islamic tradition explains that they dug into the earth, carved foundations, and created chambers that served various purposes for the kingdom of Suleiman. These underground works formed the backbone of his prophetic construction, strengthening the Antisi-Zo, sacred precinct, and establishing deep support structures that would endure long after his time. Some early Muslim historians believed that the earliest foundations beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa could include traces of these colossal efforts, remnants of a prophetic era when supernatural labor shaped the land under divine permission. Even though the exact layout of these structures is not fully known today, the belief that the underground regions may contain elements from the era of Suleiman aligns perfectly with the Qur'anic description of the power and scale of his construction. What remains buried beneath the sanctuary may not simply be ancient tunnels. They may be the physical imprint of a time when the unseen world itself was part of building the sacred land. And so, as we uncover these layers, we find ourselves face to face with history that extends beyond human memory, history written by prophets, preserved in stone, and watched over by Allah across the ages. Beneath the sacred rock lies a chamber that has stirred the curiosity of scholars, travelers, and generations of worshippers alike. This chamber, known historically as Al-Maghara, is a quiet hollow carved into the living stone beneath the surface of the sanctuary, neither grand nor decorated, yet profound in its simplicity. Early Muslims described it as a place where some of the righteous prayed, and while it appears modest, its existence tells us something extraordinary about the land beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa. This is not a place shaped quickly or built by ordinary hands. It is part natural formation and part historical modification, a silent witness to centuries of faith. No one can say with certainty how far back the chamber's origins go, but it is older than empires, older than the golden domes above it, and older than the struggles that came and went over Jerusalem. Some believed that prophets might have known this space, that perhaps it served as a refuge for the pious or a place for intimate worship beneath the surface, where the world above could not intrude. What makes this chamber even more intriguing is not merely its presence, but what it represents: proof that the ground beneath the sanctuary holds layers of sacred history, untouched by time and invisible to the eye unless one dares to descend. When you stand above the rock, you stand on top of a story hidden beneath your feet, a story shaped by nature, guided by faith, and preserved by the decree of Allah. And as we explore deeper in spirit, though not physically, we realize that these underground spaces are not merely geological curiosities, but reminders that the sacredness of Al-Aqsa extends downward as much as it rises upward. Centuries passed after the era of the earliest prophets, and then came a time when the Umayyads undertook one of the greatest architectural projects in Islamic history. They built the Dome of the Rock, restored Masjid Al-Aqsa, and revived the sacred precinct with a brilliance meant to honor the Prophet's night journey. But as they constructed these monumental structures, they encountered the deep and ancient foundations that preceded them. Instead of erasing the past, they built upon it, strengthening it, and shaping it into something that would endure for centuries to come. This is where the story of the underground halls truly expands, particularly in the vast area now known as the Marwani chambers. These chambers, immense and supported by rows of towering stone columns, stretch beneath the southeast corner of the sanctuary platform, showing the incredible engineering of early Muslims who wanted to preserve and support the holy site. Though some people call them hidden or secret, historians and scholars recognize them as part of the Umayyad restoration, not a concealed labyrinth of mystical tunnels, but a functional and masterfully designed substructure that elevated and stabilized the platform above. Their construction reflects the devotion of Muslims who understood the weight of this land in Islam and who ensured the sanctuary could withstand future generations. Yet even as they expanded, reinforced, and reorganized the underground, the Umayyads did not erase the older layers beneath. Instead, their work became another chapter in a much longer story, sealing some ancient paths, preserving others, and creating a bridge between the prophetic past and the Islamic present. What lies below today is therefore a mixture of natural formations, prophetic foundations, and early Islamic architecture, each layer telling a different part of the story of Al-Quds. In all of this, it is essential to understand what Islamic tradition affirms and what it leaves in the realm of the unknown. The Quran and authentic narrations do not speak of hidden relics buried beneath Al-Aqsa, nor do they endorse legends of secret vaults filled with supernatural artifacts waiting to be discovered. Islam does not depend on tales of mystical treasure or material secrets to elevate the holiness of a land. Its sanctity is defined by the prophets who walked upon it and the divine blessings placed upon it. Some stories that circulate in the modern era come from speculation, archaeology, or political agendas, not from the authentic teachings of Islam. What our tradition does preserve is the certainty that this land is ancient beyond measure, that prophets lived, prayed, sacrificed, and built here long before the world around them changed. The ground beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa contains layers of civilizations, not because they hold magical secrets, but because every era felt the need to build upon what came before, to honor the sanctity of the site, and to preserve it for the future. Islamic sources teach us humility. Before the unknown, we acknowledge what we know with confidence, and we refrain from claiming what Allah has not revealed. The beauty of this mystery is not in exaggerated tales, but in the fact that the real significance of Al-Aqsa lies not underground, but in the spiritual reality that has surrounded it since the time of the earliest prophets. When Muslims look at the sanctuary, they see not a place hiding relics, but a place filled with the prayers of prophets, the struggles of the pious, and the blessings Allah has promised for those who honor it. And so, as we explore the layers beneath the sacred rock, we do so not in search of hidden objects, but in search of understanding of how deeply this land has been intertwined with revelation, worship, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between humanity and its Creator. The underground, with all its chambers and foundations, is merely a silent witness to a history that Islam has already illuminated, a reminder that the true secrets of Al-Aqsa are spiritual, eternal, and far beyond the reach of any excavation. In the modern age, the underground beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa has become more than a historical curiosity. It has become a focal point of tension, fear, and intense global scrutiny. Excavations conducted around and beneath the sanctuary have caused deep concern among Muslims worldwide, not because the underground holds mythical relics, but because every disturbance to the earth beneath Al-Aqsa threatens centuries of sacred foundations. Engineers and scholars have warned repeatedly that careless digging can destabilize the massive stone platforms that support the masjid above, and for this reason, many believe that political motives often overshadow scientific ones. Over the past century, tunnels and excavations have been opened near the western and southern edges of the complex, each one stirring fears that the integrity of the mosque may be deliberately compromised. The custodians of the sanctuary, along with scholars of Al-Quds, continue to emphasize that the underground structures are ancient, delicate, and intricately connected. Even the removal of a single stone can affect the balance of the entire structure. There are places beneath the sanctuary that have never been fully documented because political authorities often restrict access or control what can be examined, and this veil of secrecy fuels even more speculation about what truly lies beneath. Yet despite the uncertainty, one truth remains clear. The deepest stones in the foundation of Al-Aqsa are some of the oldest in all of Jerusalem, stones laid long before modern archaeology existed, stones that testify silently to the prophetic history Islam has always upheld. These stones are not evidence of hidden treasures, but of ancient civilizations that honored this place as a sanctuary long before the world surrounding it was, divided by borders and conflicts. They stand as stubborn proof that the site of Al-Aqsa is older than the many claims made upon it, older than narratives shaped by politics, and older than the modern struggle that surrounds it today. This ongoing struggle, the tension between preserving the sacred and uncovering the historical, is a reminder that the underground beneath Al-Aqsa is not merely a physical space. It is a battleground of narratives, each seeking to reshape the story of this holy land. But for Muslims, the sanctity of the site is not rooted in archaeology. It is rooted in revelation, in the footsteps of prophets, and in the divine blessings that cannot be measured by excavations or tools. Despite the turmoil of modern times, the spiritual essence of Masjid Al-Aqsa remains untouched, resting on foundations deeper than stone and older than human memory. The land beneath the sanctuary is not only a place of historical construction, it is a place where angels descended, where prophets prayed, and where divine commands were revealed. This is the land from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to the heavens, crossing realms that no excavation could ever uncover. The chambers and tunnels beneath the surface may seem mysterious, but the true mystery lies in the unseen world that surrounds them, the realm of angels, destiny, and divine mercy. While the physical underground holds remnants of civilizations, the spiritual underground holds the weight of prayers offered by prophets whose names are mentioned with reverence in the Quran. When believers stand in Masjid Al-Aqsa today, they stand above soil that once carried the footsteps of Ibrahim, who built altars of worship, of Ishaq and Yaqub, who guided their families through revelation, of Dawood, who ruled with justice, and of Sulaiman, who commanded the winds, the birds, and the jinn by the permission of Allah. Every layer of earth beneath, the masjid carries the echo of their devotion, their tears, their gratitude, and their trials, and no archaeological dig could ever uncover the spiritual weight of such moments. Even the sacred rock above the chamber of Al-Maghara is not revered because of the space beneath it, but because of the miracle that occurred above it, the moment when the prophet ascended through the heavens and stood before his Lord. That moment is not preserved in stone or tunnel pathways. It is preserved in the heart of every believer who recites the verse of Al-Isra and remembers the night when the boundaries of the universe opened for the final messenger. The underground may hold structures shaped by time, but the spiritual history above it holds events shaped directly by divine decree. And with each passing century, the holiness of Al-Aqsa becomes deeper, not because of discoveries beneath the ground, but because the believers who defend and love this sanctuary keep its memory alive in their hearts. As long as Muslims remember the blessings Allah placed upon this land, the sanctity of Al-Aqsa will remain intact, untouched by the noise of politics or the hands of excavators. What lies beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa may remain partially unknown, sealed by time and protected by destiny, but what lies above it is clear beyond doubt. This sanctuary is a testament of faith, a link between earth and the heavens, and a symbol of the endurance of revelation. The underground chambers whisper stories of ancient eras, but the spiritual reality shouts a truth far more powerful: that Allah has chosen this land, honored it, and preserved it through every generation, from the earliest prophets to the final messenger. The real blessing is not in the hidden stones, but in the divine presence and mercy that has touched this place again and again across the ages. Across centuries of faith, conflict, revelation, and human struggle, one truth about Masjid Al-Aqsa has never changed. The sacredness of this land does not rise from the stones beneath it, nor from the halls carved into its depths, nor from the ancient tunnels whispered about in stories. Its sanctity comes from the divine hand that chose it, blessed it, and filled its soil with the footsteps of prophets whose missions shaped the destiny of nations. When we look at the layers beneath the sacred rock, we see only fragments of a story that began long before any historian held a pen and long before any kingdom claimed the land. Every generation added something to this sanctuary: structures, foundations, reinforcements, and restorations, but none of these additions created its holiness, they merely preserved it. If every chamber beneath the Haram were revealed today, if every stone were mapped and every tunnel explored, the true essence of Al-Aqsa would still lie beyond the reach of human discovery. Its secret is not material. Its secret is spiritual, woven into the love believers carry for it and the connection Allah has made between this land and the hearts of the righteous. The underground foundations, fascinating as they are only shadows of a much greater reality, that this place has been a sanctuary since the earliest days of humanity, a beacon of guidance for both the living and those who have long returned to their Lord. The stones beneath the mosque may speak of ancient civilizations, but the blessings above them speak of eternity. When prophets prayed here, their devotions sanctified the soil in ways no excavation can measure. When they built altars, judged their people, worshipped in solitude, and called their nations to righteousness, their presence infused the land with a purity that cannot be extracted or scientifically examined. Some of the world's most powerful civilizations vanished without a trace, leaving nothing but ruins that crumble in the wind, yet the sanctity of Al-Aqsa has endured, unchanged and unbroken. Empires fought over this land, armies marched across its hills, rulers built monuments and tore down others, but the spiritual core remained untouched, protected by divine decree. That is the real miracle, that through every age, the deepest identity of Al-Aqsa has remained exactly as Allah intended, a place of worship, a place of revelation, a place where the hearts of believers find peace and inspiration. This unbroken chain of sanctity links every believer today with prophets who lived thousands of years ago, as if time itself collapses within these sacred boundaries. The so-called secrets beneath the sanctuary are merely fragments of a larger truth that Islam has already explained. The chambers, tunnels, and ancient foundations are evidence of the civilizations that honored this land, but they do not determine its greatness. They confirm it. They show that, generation after generation, people recognized Al-Aqsa as a place worth protecting, worth rebuilding, and worth defending against forces that sought to erase its legacy. Even when its structures were damaged by conflict or natural disasters, Muslims across the world rose to restore it, not because of what lay underground, but because of what lay in their hearts. The connection between Al-Aqsa and the believers is not built on archaeology or relics. It is built on faith, reverence, and the knowledge that Allah Himself blessed this land. And because that blessing stands firm, no discovery beneath the ground can elevate it, nor can any attempt to undermine it diminish its worth. The real secret is that the holiness of Al-Aqsa does not rely on anything hidden at all. It is open, unmistakable, and manifest to anyone who reflects upon the verses of the Quran and the traditions of the prophets. When we think about the underground structures, we must remember that their existence is merely a physical reminder of how long Al-Aqsa has stood in the heart of human history. The real treasure is not the stone vaults or ancient pathways, but the unbroken devotion of believers who turn their hearts toward this sanctuary with love and longing. Every generation that protected it, prayed within its walls, and taught their children about its significance has become part of a continuous chain of guardianship stretching back to the earliest prophets. This chain, stronger than any stone foundation, is what truly sustains Al-Aqsa. While the underground may fade and erode with time, the devotion of the believers will not. As long as the Ummah remembers Al-Aqsa, honors it, and prays for its protection, its sanctity will remain alive, preserved not only by stone but by the hearts of millions. In the end, The story of the underground beneath Masjid Al-Aqsa is not a tale of hidden chambers or forgotten artifacts. It is the story of a land chosen by Allah, a land where revelation descended, where prophets stood firm, and where the final messenger began his ascent to the heavens. What lies beneath us may be ancient, but what lies above is eternal. The essence of Al-Aqsa cannot be buried, and its truth cannot be hidden. Its real power comes from the guidance it represents and the spiritual legacy it carries, a legacy that no excavation can uncover and no enemy can erase. The greatest secret beneath the sacred rock is not a tunnel, a chamber, or a relic. It is the timeless message of Islam itself, echoing through the ages, that Allah honors whom He wills, blesses what He wills, and protects the sanctities of His chosen servants. And as long as believers remember this, the heart of Al-Aqsa will continue to beat strongly in the souls of those who cherish it, now and for generations to come.